Recording! Welcome to episode 171 of The Hot Ticket. You know, we've come such a long way, Corey. You know, we've come such a long way. I feel like we've grown as people.
Yeah, we've grown for sure.
Like, I look taller in this video. You notice how much taller I look?
You look insanely tall.
It's like I've grown from the last episode.
You know what's weird is that you shoot typically from under to up, and then it's the opposite.
It's because I have a weak chin, so I want my chin to look bigger.
So this is, I'm not going to say this is an extension of last week's episode, but it's kind of still Halloween themed. Since there's things that are going on in both of our lives that I personally don't care to talk about, only because I'll just get pissed off, specifically around mine, you know?
Yeah.
Yours is, I would say, better things that are happening.
Yeah.
Mine are frustrating things that are happening.
I did have a nightmare last night.
Did you? Oh, dude, Lauren had a night terror a few nights ago. It was crazy. See, I don't want to tell the story because I think she thinks it's embarrassing, but it was wild because she talks in her sleep. So.
She pee-pee? She pee-pee for herself?
No.
There's nothing worse than having a dream where you shit all over yourself and there's like no place to clean it up and you're like, where do I go?
Oh, yeah.
I've had that before. Yeah, man, I just had these weird nightmares. And they're never nightmares that like wake me up to the point where like I'm hyperventilating or crying or anything. I literally wake up and was like, oh, that was wild. But you know, I've had some weird dreams in the past. It makes me wonder, like, why do people have nightmares, you think? Like, what is this, some deep down fear of something? Why do we have nightmares?
Yeah, I don't know. Did I just disappear on the video? Because I feel like I did.
Yes, now you're back.
Am I back now?
It could have been a ghost. Think about it.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
If a ghost just like took over your electronics for a second.
Yeah, it's weird. Oh, Jesus, I'm changing all over the place. Oh, there I go again. There's the ghost of me going away. Ooh. Yeah, sorry. I'm just like, I'm changing some settings because the video is obviously really choppy and I don't like it and it's making me very upset. But yeah, dude, I haven't had any nightmares recently, but 'tis the season, so I feel like one's coming. But I don't know if it actually will. I kind of hope it does because I don't really mind them.
Yeah. I just, it's like, what triggers them? Like, is it some unprofound, like, fear of something? Is it your subconscious trying to bring to reality things you try to ignore during the day? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know how all that stuff works. Like, I don't understand the psychology behind it.
I would love to learn how to do lucid dreaming, though, where you know you're asleep and then can control the outcome of your dream. Because I've had way too many fantasies where it's like the whole dream is about me almost about to score. And then as soon as I'm about to score, I wake up. And it's like I spent my entire dream state.
What do you mean by score?
Like sex, bro.
Oh. What do you mean like, I'm a running back?
I have so many dreams where I'm like a running back.
I didn't know what you meant by score. You didn't provide any context to it.
That's true. Score is a very 90s thing to say. It's like, hey, did you score with her? Did you score with Tabitha, man? It's like, man, I respect her too much to say anything to you guys. Well, where were your friends, man? I don't care. I respect her as a woman. Dude, we're like 15. Get off it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh my God, this video is atrocious, isn't it? God, I'm having a hard time just like even just looking at it. It's driving me nuts.
Just play the part where you're like, it's like a Tim Burton fucking like claymation stop animation film. Weirdly enough, your videos seem to be working. Oh, there it goes. Oh yeah, get it, girl.
I'm like,
if that was your dance moves.
I'm unintentionally doing the robot, and it's working. There's like no fluid motion.
No. It's kind of trippy. I like it.
It is a little weird. Yeah, I don't know if I like it. I mean, I don't like it.
But have you ever had like
a little bit of latency?
A nightmare where you
a nightmare?
Neatmare, where you realize all your teeth are like super loose, and you need to eat or do something, so you're trying not to touch your teeth, but then you accidentally touch it, and then like one falls out, and then you're like, oh fuck.
Oh yeah, there is like some sort of suggested science or psychology around dreams where your teeth are falling out, because I've had it happen plenty of times, and it's crazy.
Have you ever had another dream where you're like laying there naked and your penis head starts blossoming like a flower and just like ripping open?
Not like a Venus flytrap? Like, what do you mean?
Like a flower blooms.
Yeah.
Like the head is the bulb, and then it just all of a sudden splits into like petals of flesh. You never had that?
Never had a dick bloom. Nope. Sure shit haven't. Not that I'd be opposed to one, but I've never had one.
I had a fantasy once where it was like here where my mom's house is, our mom's house. And there was a girl that lived down the street. In fact, I'm like pointing at the house if I can remember in my dream correctly. But she was gorgeous. And I remember meeting her, and she wouldn't make eye contact with me, and I had no idea why. And then I found out when I was like going on a date with her that she was legally blind. Like she couldn't see anything. And then I became like so protective of her that like when people would make fun of her, like, stop fucking making fun of her. She's amazing. Stop it. And it was just like, what was weird is I loved her so much in my dream that when I woke up, I started looking up pretty blind women. It's like, maybe I'll be able to find her in a photo on social media or something and be like, oh my God, that's my girl in my dreams, that blind one right there.
Yeah, give me the blind one.
It was so weird because sometimes I just try to relate like what I see in my dream to something physical in the real world. Like, can I like find it, or can that happen? And so like, yeah, I was like infatuated for like, I want to say 3 days. Probably give it 3 solid days where I wanted to really date a blind woman.
There's something too. It's almost like I remember that episode of Seinfeld where he's like dating like what I would say is a partially deaf woman. She's not like fully deaf.
Yeah.
Kind of, I think it would be something like that.
Yeah. I wonder what would be more challenging, not being able to see or not being able to hear.
Not being able to see.
I think so too. Now, and this is in favor to me, but if I found a dropout gorgeous blind chick, as long as I talk a good game, I could be the ugliest motherfucker ever. And I know some of you out there listening to this episode already, it's like, God damn, Chris, that's super shallow. But let's be real. All attraction starts from the visual. You can't deny that you are going to go on a date with someone and completely ignore how you are physically attracted to them. Not going to happen.
Yeah, we've said this before. That first initial attraction is always a physical one. You don't know anything about the person before that. You hope that the personality matches the aesthetic, but you don't know.
Right. Like,
yeah, that's like the whole idea of like people saying like, why don't you like me for what's inside? It's like, dude, I liked you for your outside before I liked you for your inside.
Yeah.
It's so what I'm telling you is don't gain 25 pounds.
It's like, I liked you for what was on the outside. Then I liked you for what was on the inside. And then I really liked you from being inside.
Right. Hey, you want to play a game?
Sure.
You want to do some Halloween trivia?
Oh, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, let's do some Halloween trivia. Why my video continues to not be with my audio.
That's okay.
I'm gonna try something real quick. Hold on.
Like a Tim Burton film. I like it.
It's weird. I don't think I like it. Whoa.
Well, your latency is great now, though. Now you're like a ghost. It kind of makes sense now for these spooky trivia questions.
Oh, whoa. Look how white my face is. Hold on.
Can I just say that this may be a morbid topic, but maybe it falls in line with Halloween, that I don't like death. In fact, it makes me very, very uncomfortable. And I think a lot of people say it would make
But you're like, but I fucking respect the hell out of it.
I fucking respect death, bro. But no, like, I don't like the idea of traditionalism types of approaches to like death and like funerals and stuff. That if I was gonna die, I would want to do something fucking fun. I think you want to do something fun.
Upon death?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
sure.
Afterwards, like instead of a funeral, it's something else. Like I've always imagined, I've told you these ideas before, but they would be so much fucking fun to just like have the last joke as like my death, like my dying wish. Like imagine like my tombstone is a complete farce of how I died, and it's like the most crazy goddamn story that like if anybody was like wandering by my tombstone, they'd be like, oh my god.
I kind of like that.
He was devoured by a whale and lived inside of it for 3 years before passing. Or like
I think you should do a fake death. You should have people go through an entire funeral procession, like from beginning to end, even with the viewing, and then just pop up right at the end. Just be like, I'm still here.
The other one I wanted to do is on my tombstone, it's just literally a Mad Lib.
That would be sweet. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah. It's just a Mad
Lib. I personally love that idea. I think that would be so fucking cool. I think it'd be awesome because then people could play a game while they're mourning your death.
It's just my story, but you fill in all the details.
I dare you to do it.
I think it'd be awesome.
You know, I've wondered this before, like whether or not as you and I get older, if our sense of humor is going to go away. Because like one of the things that I always say, like I tell Lauren, I see people like if we're out at the grocery store, wherever we're at, and just in public in general, I'm like, God, please don't let me be like that guy. You know, it's like that guy's soul looks empty. And was that guy once a really funny, like jovial, hilarious person that did some really crazy shit?
Could have been.
And all of a sudden he's desensitized. And like all of what was great about him has been sucked from his soul. Like, you know what I'm talking about? You see those people all the time. And you just like wonder, and it's like, am I going to be that when I'm that person's age? Like when I'm 50, 60 years old, am I going to still be like I am now? Or am I going to be that person that's just had everything ripped from their being? And I'd like to think, just based upon how I've continued to be from my 20s to my 30s, that I'll still be that person actively, but I don't know if I will.
If I ever become that, I'm immediately going to get a bowl cut, and I'm basically going to play the character Pat from SNL and just have these weird faux pas and like satirical, like Debbie Downer type shit, right?
Right.
Where it's like, that's official. I can't have children.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. Like, I hope I don't ever turn out to be like that. I hope there's nothing in my life that like, because I think a part of it is like the significance and what happens in people's lives, like having kids, you know what I mean? Like it may change that dynamic, right? I've got to be more serious. I have to have this attitude. I think part of it is just a removal from childhood as a whole, right? Taking on adult grown-up responsibilities. But even with that, like I've kind of found myself having like adding the responsibility piece of it, and I'm having to maintain a certain level of like appropriate adulthood, but there's like shit that I still say and do, and like even Lauren's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like on Instagram, for example, I put out a story and I was just really zoomed in on Quincy's butthole, and then I just zoomed out and it was just his asshole. And people are like, what the fuck's wrong with you? It's like that kind of stuff I want to keep doing. Like, I don't want to lose that. That stuff to me is like fucking hilarious.
What I love is like, I joke a lot, but sometimes I feel more giddy and happy inside when no one laughs at my joke, because that means like, to me, it's so funny not to get the laugh. I find it more funny that I don't get the laugh.
Yeah. That would make you a horrific comedian, by the way.
I know. I know.
All right, let's get into these questions.
Okay, go for it.
The first one's kind of cool because it's relevant, and I don't think you're gonna get it, but if you did, that would be totally dope. First question: where is the world's longest haunted house?
Hell.
That's a good answer. But no.
Auschwitz.
No, but that would be the craziest one, I feel like.
Yeah.
If they opened that to the public and like created a haunted house.
Yeah.
It is actually the haunted cave in Lewisburg, Ohio. Remember we used to live
close yeah. We wanted to go there.
It's 3,564 feet long and 80 feet underground.
That sounds
fun.
I
thought that was a cool one because it's like we used to live really close to Lewisburg when we lived in Brookville. It's like right down the fucking street, essentially.
I feel like we got to go there.
I know, that would be cool. I don't know if it's like a decent one or not, but I mean, it's a cave, so that's pretty dope. Like, how could it be bad? I feel like it can't be bad.
Yeah.
All right, next one. What was the original candy corn called?
Candy corn called? The failed American popsicle.
It was chicken feed.
Chicken feed?
I kind of like that better than candy corn.
I do too.
It doesn't look like corn.
No,
and
it doesn't.
Barely fucking candy.
It looks like a patriotic popsicle that like a Smurf would eat.
Yeah, they're atrocious.
Like these little
like people who like candy corn, like add them to my list of people who need to disappear from.
Oh, they're so sugary, man.
It's just that's all it is. Was it like
grainy
and sugar? Like, I think that's all
it
is.
So grainy. There's so much sugar in it.
Yeah, it's shit's disgusting. All right, what famous magician died on Halloween? This should be kind of easy to get. There's only so many famous magicians. And when I say magician, I don't mean like Dad when he tries to say musician.
Yeah.
A literal magician.
Yeah. Magician. I mean, I'm gonna go with one that seems to fit the mark, and because I know he died. Houdini?
It is Houdini. You got it correct. Okay. Good job. All right. Let's see. Where you're not going to get this one, but I kind of like the question. Where was the first citywide Halloween celebration in the United States?
Citywide celebration in the United States.
What state? I'll give you what state, and less specifically the city.
Okay, what state? Maine.
Oh, nope. It starts with an M, though.
Massachusetts.
No.
Maryland.
No.
Missouri.
No.
Oh, Mississippi.
No. You named every single M state, like with the exception of one. Or
did I say Montana?
Nope. You've now named every single M state, and you still haven't got it correct. No. I guess there's two more. I'm trying to think in my head. I think there's two more M states.
Oh, shit. You know that one state that starts with
the most obvious one that you haven't picked yet is like
Michigan.
It's not Michigan either. I thought that would be like the first one you'd pick just because it's right above us.
My first answer was going to be Detroit.
I mean, Detroit's like Halloween all year long.
I know.
Remember when we saw that guy? You weren't with us on that trip, were you? No, you weren't. There was a guy that we saw on the riverbank, the Detroit River, and he was wearing like full shoulder pads and a jersey, but he only had underwear on for his bottoms. Just walking down the street, he had a Detroit Lions jersey on with shoulder pads, but only had underwear on, and he's just walking down the street.
Oh
like,
my god!
The fuck! So it is kind of like Halloween all year long there. Minnesota, Chris. The state is Minnesota. I think you may be able to get this next one. What is the most commercially successful horror movie of all time?
Ooh, most successful? Halloween?
No, it is not Halloween.
Friday the 13th.
Mm-mm.
Most successful?
Mm-hmm.
If it's Scream, I'm going to punch you.
It's not Scream. But you're going to punch me.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I'll fucking punch you back.
Most successful Halloween movie. Or you said series?
Just no. I'll put it this way. It's 2 parts.
It's 2 parts.
Mm-hmm. It's considered chapter 1, chapter 2.
Wait, It?
It is It.
Really?
That is correct. It actually makes sense if you think about it, though.
You think?
And honestly, I don't know if they're talking about the made-for-TV one or the re-release because they were both massive.
They were massive. Both of them were massive, yeah.
I would have to say the re-release.
I say the original. Well, I feel like the original. Because think about how many times it was played on TV.
Yeah, and what are we saying as successful? How much money it generated or how many views it had? It doesn't discern between the two.
Oh, gotcha.
Where did the real Ichabod Crane live? Obviously, Ichabod Crane from the movie Sleepy Hollow.
Ichabod Crane. Wasn't it New York?
It was technically New York, but what city in New York?
Albany.
No, it is not Albany.
New York.
It is something Island.
Staten Island.
Staten Island. There you go. Now, unlike the movie question, which answered was It, which was commercially successful movie. Chris, what is the most commercially successful horror franchise of all time? And I will preface that it's less horror, even though it's categorized as this in there, but more kind of fantasy. Well, I don't want to say fantasy. What do you categorize? More sci-fi.
More sci-fi.
And I'll put it this way, did not originate in the United States.
Ooh. Horror franchise.
I feel like if you personally think about this one enough, you'll get it. Horror franchise of all time.
Teletubbies.
I mean, that would... Teletubbies has given me fucking nightmares, dude. Those little fuckers.
I'm pretty sure they're not American.
They're definitely not. I don't know what they are.
Are they aliens?
Honestly, I think they're French. Take a guess.
Biggest horror franchise, commercial horror franchise.
Mm-hmm. Not created in the U.S. I'll give you another hint. It is Asian originally.
Ringu.
No, I don't.
Ring?
Is it the cousin of Ringworm?
Is it Ring?
No. Remember, take my hint in the fact that it's technically more sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
And less horror. Would you like another hint?
Yes, please.
It involves mutation.
Ooh.
And if you say the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm gonna smack you through the Zoom call.
I literally thought about it. Has mutation.
You know. I've given you too many hints, and I cannot believe you haven't gotten this. It is Godzilla.
Godzilla?
Yes.
Man, my son would kill me for that one.
Another question. What item is banned in California on Halloween? Some of these are really tough. Yep.
Candy.
I mean, that's something fucking California would do. That'd be some shit California would pull. No doubt.
I don't think they're doing Halloween this year.
They aren't.
What item is banned on Halloween?
I'll put it this way. It's pretty silly.
Costumes.
No. I gave you the best hint of all time.
It's pretty silly. Silly string.
There you go. Let's do one last question because we do have to get into a review.
Yeah.
What is the most popular Halloween candy in America?
Most popular candy. Ooh. Skittles.
It is Skittles. That is correct. Look at you. You got 2.
I did it.
I mean, some of these are really hard. So honestly, to get 1 or 2 is, I think, a feat in and of itself, but that's pretty good. All right. That's enough with the Halloween trivia. Let's get into this cigar review, shall we?
Sure.
I will say this is personally one that I was very, very, very excited about for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is because in this particular brand, I would coin myself as being a hardcore dick rider. How would I say it, Chris? Somebody who has been on board with this brand, honestly, since inception, really. If you think about it, back to the days of old, when we smoked the original Tabernacle.
Mm-hmm.
So the brand, of course, being Foundation, and the cigar being what, Chris? What are we smoking today? Since you've definitely worked on the pronunciation.
Oh yes, it is the Güegüense by Foundation. Actually, hold on. Let me make sure I'm saying it right.
Güegüense.
Wait, what? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I could hear it.
Güegüense. Güegüense.
What did Gwen say? What did Gwen say?
Güegüense.
I think that's broken.
It sounds broken.
I think it's the Güegüense.
The Güegüense.
Güegüense.
Could you imagine being foreign and having to say that word?
Oh God.
Like, being American, it's a struggle. But could you imagine like having to say that as if like someone who's foreign, like it's from your country and you just have to say Güegüense?
Yeah.
When every single letter in the word phonetically doesn't make sense.
And to put it in a little bit more clarity for you people, the Güegüense is the wise man, but we had this special little 5-year anniversary of the wise man.
Yep. And it was actually just announced back in August. So as far as I can tell, we would be one of the more major platforms to even review the cigar. I haven't seen anything out on the marketplace yet. And I'll put it this way. I just took a picture of it last night while I was smoking it. And I had so many fucking people message me going, oh my God, how is it? Like, it was like one after another. I couldn't keep up. I was like, holy shit. Did this garner that much attention? Is it already overly popular and hyped and it's not even really out in the marketplace yet? It is. I mean, they just started shipping, but in terms of feedback to the collective community, there's literally none. I think we kind of know what maybe we should expect based upon the original, but there are obviously a lot of differences. And of course, Vitola being vastly different from what was created in the original El Güegüense.
Yeah.
So
you guys will find out very shortly what we say about it.
Yeah, what we say.
What we say about it.
What do we say about the Güegüense? All right, let's get into this. Unless you have a backstory on it, which I don't believe you do.
How do you create a backstory from a word that sounds like a drunk person trying to speak to you at a bar?
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what it is. Again, there's
like,
nothing phonetic about that word at all. If you actually look at the way it's spelled, it makes no sense. Like it literally has no sense. It looks like gooey snake.
Yeah. And the only person I could think saying this word, if I could put a personality to this weird word, it's the character in Joe Dirt where it's like, want to see homo naked? And he's like, oh, you want to see homos naked? He's like, no. Only way you make it.
Like, yeah, that's cool, man. You like to see homos naked. Okay.
That's the character I see saying this word, and you're at a bar and you're like, what the fuck are you saying?
That is pretty accurate. That's exactly the type of person I think would try to actually say this word.
Yeah.
It'd be that kind of person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's how could you create a backstory about something so silly, a word so silly as
you can't.
No, it's impossible. So this is the 5-year anniversario. I will say, just as like a background, the original Güegüense, the original is like super fucking popular, like highly regarded. I love that cigar. It's weird because I love the Wise Man Maduro, but I like the original El Güegüense as well, which of course is garnered a blue label versus the Wise Man Maduro, which is a Maduro. It has kind of a scarlet color on the label, but I think both of them are so dynamically different, but they're both really good. So it's like, I used to smoke these almost interchangeably. Like if I went to the cigar lounge, it's like I'd smoke one and the next time I'd smoke the other. Both incredible cigars. So of course the differences being on this one, there is some of the innards have changed as a result. And of course, again, one of the main differences being the vitola. So this cigar does have a Nicaraguan wrapper, Mexican San Andreas binder. So I actually like Mexican San Andreas as a binder.
Sure.
And it is a combination of Nicaraguan fillers from 2 different regions. This is a Perfecto 4 3/4 by 60. So it's a short chubber.
Yes, it is.
This is a chub dong.
It literally looks like a very hearty turd that you pinched off at the end in the toilet.
It does. It's just a thick.
It's just a thick turd. Like if you spent the night before just eating cheese and bread and some meat, and in the morning when you're like trying to force it out, but you're trying to prevent giving yourself a hemorrhoid, it literally looks like a pinched off turd.
Yeah, it does. It's one of those ones that it's gonna hurt. It's almost like that good pain when it comes out. That's what it's gonna do. It's gonna be that good pain.
Yeah, that's true.
I think another thing that is very striking about this cigar, unlike its older sibling,
predecessors,
is $15. $15 cigar, 4 3/4 by 60. $15 fucking dollars.
That means for every,
it's like double the price of the other.
That means for every inch, it's like $3 or $4.
Dude, it's fucking
for
expensive.
Every inch.
I mean, I'm not even gonna say anything other than that. It's just expensive. $15 for a cigar like this, you just better be fucking good. And speaking of, let's figure out whether or not this thing was actually really good.
Sure.
Chris, what did you think about the construction of this short little pudgy donger?
Well, you'll notice, folks, this does look like a pinched off turd, a milk chocolate turd. It's got a nice kind of light brown color to it. I think that's indicative of that Nicaraguan wrapper. Now, there's some talks, I've seen mixed breakdowns of this cigar, but there was one person in particular, one group that said it was a Corojo 99 wrapper. So I don't necessarily know if that is indicative of the color, but I just thought that was interesting. It is kind of chocolatey, mild veinage. It has a slight sheen to it. It's smooth in nature. And mine, I don't know about yours, but back to the whole point of like having a thick, dense crap in the morning. This was a stiff turd. Like this thing was packed full of like tobacco fillers. It did have some squishiness to it in places, but all in all, it was super dense, especially at the cap and especially at the foot, which usually, as much as I love the presentation of a very odd vitola and shape of a cigar, when you're dealing with like pinched ends, like in a Perfecto or Figurado, or even like a Bullet, it's you usually have some over bunching at the ends, which can make for a crazy draw at times, like too tight. So that was like the first thing I was like, I have to check for this. If we're dealing with these shapes, Corey, we got to check for this draw when we're dealing with these crazy vitolas, So I made a mental note. It's like, we got to make sure how good this sucker draws. But all in all, it was a very, very beautiful cigar. Very beautiful. I love the label. I don't know what it is about Foundation cigars. There's a certain amount of classy and eclecticness.
Yeah,
but
they're definitely more artistic than most.
But it sports very bright colors, which pop on those very neutral, warm tobacco colors that we see. All in all, great construction. Loved it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the construction was fucking awesome. Just an appearance perspective, you're just holding in your hands and you're just kind of looking over the cigar. It's beautifully constructed. I actually really like, just because, Nick Malillo, obviously owner of Foundation Cigars, call him like the king of broadleaf, right?
Yeah.
And okay, that's like a cool way to describe Nick, because he's obviously used Connecticut broadleaf and their headquarters in Connecticut over a long period of time. But what I liked about this cigar is that it's not Connecticut broadleaf, and I actually like the fact that, like, hey, this is not this really dark, toothy wrapper. It's super silky smooth, and it was very oily. It's not indicative of a lot of stuff that I would say Foundation Cigars has done early on. I really just like the way that, even from a construction perspective, even with the Vitola, is just so different than anything that they've done in the past. It really kind of separates itself in terms of those things. The only thing that was a challenge for me is just band removal. Just tore off a piece of the fucking wrapper with it, which is really annoying, because what that is it's essentially, it's really lazy band placement. The oil is obviously adhered to the wrapper from the band, and as soon as you go to peel that off, you have no choice. You're tearing the wrapper. It's going to happen no matter what you do. So wrapper tear, which I fucking hate. That's just a lazy thing in terms of production, and it drives me nuts, because it's as long as you pay attention to what you're doing and you do it in the correct manner, it's something that should never happen with a cigar. And it's just, to me, is kind of a rush process. But that was the only thing. I'd say other than that, the cigar just looked amazing. That Vitola is fucking awesome.
And if your binder is also not well constructed, and you have any tear on the wrapper, this doesn't happen very often. I'm just giving you kind of like a small little side story. Like, binders tend to be also very delicate when they're used in a cigar, because they have to be pliable and they wrap it around the fillers. That sometimes when you do rip into a wrapper, you also can still kind of rip into the binder. And the last thing you want to do is have a puncture even in your binder, because now you aren't getting the proper suction and vacuum out of it on a draw, and you'll see smoke come out of parts of the cigar that are
we've seen them before, right?
Yeah, that are not at that cap, and not even at the foot. They're like coming out the side somewhere. You're like, son of a bitch. And you get you get like a really overly airy cigar, and you can't really pull any good smoke production.
Yeah, it's like having a leak in a water hose.
Yeah.
Right? The pressure depreciates at the head of the hose, because obviously you've got a hole in another part, which is causing that a different pressure flow. Absolutely. So yeah, same thing with the cigar. So thank you, Chris, for the 101.
Corey, you are welcome.
What did you think about the burn overall?
All right, people. I told you to bookmark it. I said, hey, we're dealing with this crazy Vitola, right? We got this Perfecto pinched at both ends. Big stouty turd, right? How good is this thing going to, how well can you suck on this turd? Well, most amazingly for mine. Now, I took a good snippet off. And when I mean a good snippet, when you're dealing with a very tight pinched cap on a Figurado or Perfecto, there's actually quite a lot of room for you to trim off the cap, because the caps are much longer than they are shorter on traditional like sizes of cylinder sizes. So the caps tend to be a lot longer. So I really took a good amount off of it, leaving probably, I want to say, I don't know, around a half inch, maybe a little bit more than a half inch of like cap exposed, from the cut. But I will say this, from the get-go, even with a tight foot, mine was so airy, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I smoked it around Corey yesterday when I got him, and it wasn't overly airy, but damn, it just had just the right amount of resistance. But it was like, imagine a straw, right? A narrow straw creates a lot of suction. I feel like we were big gulping it, brother. Like we had one of those fucking like smoothie straws. That's what it was like. Like a big ass fucking milkshake straw, right? So where I was expecting some real tight resistance, like trying to suck a strawberry through your milkshake straw, we had a big old straw, enough to get that strawberry through that straw. You know what I'm saying? So mine was very airy. Thankfully, too, with it being a Nicaraguan wrapper, it burned really evenly. And I never once had any type of outage or concern. And I think it was probably because you got a real thick cigar, like it's a 60 ring gauge, and there's a lot of tobacco burning on a 60 ring gauge, and not once did I have to like chief on it heavily to keep it lit. I could actually enjoy myself and talk to Corey about all of his druthers with home buying and home selling, and still be able to like pick it up and get a really good draw and a really good smoke production. With it being more airy than I thought it was going to be, it did take a few puffs for me to get some good smoke production, but it didn't really bother me too much because all in all, I thought it was like, it had such a cool draw to it. It pronounced so much flavors when it burned cool on that thicker ring gauge, which we'll get into about flavors anyway. But that said, I thought the burn for me was flawless all the way to the end. I mean, I smoked that son of a bitch for as small as I could get it before I was burning fingers. Yeah. I never had an issue.
Yeah, for me, I one of the things that I anticipated was this was going to be a challenging cigar to smoke because of the Vitola. It just, more often than not, things that are just strangely built like this, that aren't perfectly cylindrical or in like box press form, tend to always have like run issues, right?
Yeah.
You've got everything kind of expanding off of a point. It's really easy for an uneven burn to exist. Different from you, I don't know if you notice this on yours, but there's one tiny little cap at the end, and then there's the second cap, and then there's the third cap. Sounded like you cut into the second cap. Yeah. I just did the little tiny nipple cap at the end. And part of that is I wanted to see how it actually drew, just popping off that
taking off a little
cap, right?
Yeah.
And I was actually very surprised on how well it drew. So the draw overall was pretty adequate. And I think part of the reason it wasn't as airy or as free flowing as maybe some other cigars I've had here recently, I think it's partly just due to the fact that the cigar is so dense. It's not so much that I just kind of peeled back a really tiny, small part of the cap, and just from an airflow perspective, it was, I'm sucking it through a smaller straw, if you will. Actually, the fillers are so goddamn fucking dense that it wasn't a bad draw. It was just adequate, right? It's just kind of what you would expect. It's very average. The only issue I had with the burn is just an outage towards the end of the cigar. I say, other than that, honestly, shockingly surprised on how well it burned. That was one thing that I actually really enjoyed about this cigar, was the burn overall, given the fact that I anticipated it was going to be kind of garbage. Which I appreciate the fact that Foundation said, hey, we're going to do this 5-year anniversary and we're going to do it in this fucking crazy Perfecto, which is, a 60 ring gauge. I kind of like that. I did too. I'm not saying it's a risk doing it, but certainly people would pay attention to some of those things as far as like ease of use of smoking a cigar and what kind of experience do you get derived from a burn. There's a lot of people who I know that will just like, if it gives them too much trouble, they'll put it the fuck down. So I appreciate the fact that like, despite one outage, it was actually really, again, shocked and surprised it burned as well as it did. So I would say plus side of the ledger in terms of burn.
You know what? I think we've learned something today that we can impart some general wisdom. An old wise man once told me this, Corey. He said, do not judge a book by its cover. So what do you think this wise man meant? Well, don't take it for what it is at surface level, right? Don't take it for surface level, because you could be incredibly surprised once you get into it to have a different opinion. So don't judge a book by its cover. Well, an old wise man told me that once.
Right.
You know,
well, wise men are great at being old and wise.
Old and wise, you know.
So what did you think about the flavor? Arguably the most important part.
Now, there's a myth going around about this. There's an urban legend going around about this cigar. Before I get into my flavored notes, apparently these cigars were sitting in cedar boxes for 6 months before hitting shelves. 6 months, I think. That's what I heard. Someone who told me of someone that said that,
right,
told me that these were sitting in cedar shelves and cases to rest before they hit shelves. 6 months. So with that said, and I heard that after I already wrote my notes on the flavor, because we like to go into this from an unbiased perspective more often than not. In fact, I usually do my reviews, backstory. I do my reviews before I actually add the components or do the research on what's in it.
Right. You don't want to be influenced by the information. I'm with you.
Influenced by the information. So that said, here is the flavor notes that I wrote down for this cigar. I said it was woody, earthy, mild bitters, and just a touch of spice. To me, it was very balanced. But the more I smoked it, the more woodiness I got out of it. In fact, I wrote down, quote unquote, my words on my review sheet. I decided to retrohale this one. Maybe not smart, but I wanted to. I'm trying to be more verbose in my descriptions of my flavors that I get out of these cigars so that you guys have a good wide spectrum of things you might be able to experience. And the most predominant note I made about a retrohale is which you take into some puffage, right? And you blow it through your nose like you're blowing into a tissue, right? I said on the retrohale, I literally got nothing but woodiness.
Yeah.
And this cigar didn't change up too drastically for me. I will say it got a little bit more harsh towards the end. The bitterness, the harshness, and even the woodiness really came out strong at the end, which I think was maybe a little overboard than where the rest of the cigar was for me. But for like 90% of the cigar, it was just so strong and earthy and woody notes.
Yeah.
That I was like, damn, it's actually a pretty well balanced cigar. There was just enough bitterness, enough of that earthiness, just a tinge of spice. And then, like I said, I ended up looking up the components of it and reading that these things were sitting in cedar boxes or cedar cases for 6 months. I'm like, wow, that makes so much sense now.
Yeah, like cedar infused.
Yeah. So I love the flavor. It's predominantly woody in my opinion. But I think it's very well balanced. The nicotine wasn't too hard. I don't know. It was to me indicative of a really good Foundation cigar.
Not for me. I'll just put it that way.
Do Woody.
Review over. Just kidding. No, I thought it was just too heavy pepper up front. I know you said you kind of had this a slight, bit of spice. Dude, for me, it was overwhelming, like way overwhelming,
really?
Which is something that like I appreciate that component in a cigar and certainly anticipated out of any Foundation cigar, anything that's got Nicaraguan tobacco, depending on region. So I expect that. But for me, it was overwhelming up front and something I didn't really appreciate because it offers no balance to me personally. Now, I will say this. I do agree with you. And from a flavor perspective, that earthiness, I think kind of binds and adheres well to the spice that you get up front. So there is a moment early on where the cigar begins to transition away from that harsh pepper that I got up front, which I personally don't like, but with a really nice balanced earthiness to the cigar, which I do like. I do agree with you that the cigar, I said it gets really woody halfway through, both on the retrohale and just smoking it in general terms. Which I also appreciate. I love the balance of that earthy woodiness. I mean, that's something and a characteristic in a cigar that I really appreciate. And I think those two things together offer up a sense of complexity and balance to a cigar that for me, I can't get enough of.
Mm.
But there's just that fucking pepper that just never fucking leaves. There's a harshness to it, which I really don't like in this cigar. I mean, I don't, and by don't like, I mean, I think it overwhelms other characteristics in the cigar that I think if left on their own would make the cigar incredible. But it's almost like the little nagging brother that's just always fucking by your side that you can't get rid of. And you're just like desperately trying to get away from him as you're trying to finger bang your girlfriend. And he just won't leave your side.
Hey, Corey, what are you doing with your girlfriend in there, Corey?
That's literally what the pepper was in this goddamn scenario, in this particular cigar, which I thought was just not good. To me, I agree with you in terms of the flavors are pretty static. This isn't a very dynamic cigar. There's not a lot of change ups. If they are, they're subtle, you know, from first third to half to final third. They're really subtle transitions, and really the characteristics overall, I would say, is a pretty basic flavor profile. And one of the things that I really, as I got to the final third, and maybe it's a Vitola thing for me because I don't really like 60 ring gauge cigars. I appreciate what they did in this Vitola from a construction perspective and how it related to the burn, because I think it's challenging. I like the idea that it's a complete departure from previous versions. And I don't think I've ever smoked anything. I don't think this Vitola has ever been released by, unless it's like an event only special or whatever, it's been released as like a production item that goes out to the masses. Yeah. I've never seen this Vitola before. So it's like, for me, I'm glad they took a chance on it. But I also think that the 60 ring gauge, in terms of what you have from a filler perspective and those components, I just didn't get any sort of really good enjoyment out of it. To me, in the final third, the cigar actually got really boring and was void of anything really satisfying. And I think some of that heavy pepper that I got up front, which I really didn't like, although balanced out nicely through, I would say, the majority of the cigar, probably 75 to 80% of the cigar, it ended just the way that it began. And it's like, and I'm just like, ugh. I was like, this is, and it just like caused me to just be like, ugh. And I just put it down.
Yeah, my notes at the end where it just got more harsh. It got.
Yeah, I just didn't. It didn't start strong, didn't finish strong. If this is a marathon runner, didn't know how to fucking pace itself, right? It just
we ran some numbers, right? It's about $3 to $4 per inch.
Yeah. It just, to me, like, if I'm making just a general comparison of this cigar and its Vitola in comparison to other things out there with, I would say, similar profiles, it's like it to me is like an okay cigar. If I'm comparing it to the rest of the Foundation line, to me is like, doesn't do it justice. Just doesn't. I would argue that the Charter Oak Maduro at like $4.50 a piece is a better cigar than this one and seems to be more thought out. I think this cigar is for some people. I think people who really love robust flavor profile, that love a stoutness in a cigar, that love something that is like medium heavy to heavy, like in terms of like strength, they're going to love this cigar no matter what. Like, I feel like this cigar is going to have its people who like think it's the best fucking thing made on earth. But I also think it's going to be polarizing, the fact there's going to be people like me too that go, I don't get it. Like, where's the awesomeness in this cigar that I anticipated or expected, or have been accustomed to getting from Foundation over a long period of time? Where did it go?
And I think I'm your perfect example to that audience, right? Yeah. I'm generally a very spice forward guy, and I've had some real spicy shit. Will I say it's like the upper echelon of the spiciest cigars I've had, or pepperiness? No, it's not. I mean, it's up there though. I would even go as far to say I feel like this is predominantly a very bold, heavy cigar.
It is. It definitely is. There is a boldness to this cigar that is, it's in your fucking face. It smacks you in the teeth. And I like that characteristic in a lot of cigars, but I just didn't think it was balanced well. To me, it lacked complexity. It lacked balance. It was very static in terms of the flavors. And I'll be honest with you, and this is something that we always talk about with cigars, is it comes in a $15 price point, elevated beyond what I think it should definitely be elevated, without even smoking the cigar or talking about what the experience is. I look at, previous versions of this cigar and I go, okay, different Vitola, get it. aged in boxes and there's an artistic, but which, by the way, I'm just going to come out and say now, and I'll probably actually put this on our next time we do what we hate about the cigar industry. I don't fucking care about the art on your boxes if it means I have to pay more for the fucking cigar. There are too many organizations that put too many fucking nice boxes out there that, of course, what you do artistically and, of course, the way that your fucking box is designed is a reason why you have to inflate the cost of your cigars. Don't fucking care. I don't care if you put that shit in goddamn plastic sleeves and ship them out. I don't care if you just wrap them up in fucking tissue paper. Don't care. But if you're fucking charging based upon a story and based upon, this idea that, okay, we raffle away these boxes and you can have this thing and it's part of an artistic collection, don't give a flying fuck. Make a good cigar, sell it, leave the fucking rest of it behind. No one gives a shit. And for the people who do give a shit, they're just fucking bored and they have nothing going on in their life.
Now, I will say this, and this will be maybe a little bit of an idea, Corey. You might have stumbled upon an opportunity. All right. What if you could, someone on a dirt bike. Nope. Was not someone on a dirt bike. It was a 75-year-old man on a motorized bicycle. Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
What if you could smoke the box too?
Then I'd be in.
Right? What if the boxes were made out of tobacco?
What if the boxes, if you threw them in like in a fire pit, just emitted like sweet tobacco flavor? Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I don't know, man. I just think sometimes it's a little overboard, and you know for a fact, and I think this is probably an example of, and I think there's other sided examples of, as a consumer, you are paying money for these boxes, which is annoying as shit. So to me, I'm just going to come out and say it, not worth the price paid. I give it a delta.
Yeah, even for me, I'll just be candid. I like the cigar. I think I like it a lot. But I will also agree, man, 15's a lot, man. It's a lot. And like when you start again, when I look at a cigar, I look at how good it is, I look at the price point, and then I compare that price point to other cigars in that bracket that I also really love.
Right.
And I can definitively say that there's a lot of cigars at a $15 price point that I could say are better cigars.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Some more so than others, obviously. It's just what your preference is. But I could think of a few cigars where I'm like, yeah, that $15 cigar is better than this one. Not to take away from how good or how much I liked it. It's just, that's just kind of how I look at it. So then I have to also consider, okay, well, how good I thought it was, how does that compare to cigars in its quality of what I like, right? Compared to what those other cigars might be in the industry that are all set at $10 price point, right? Then that's where it's like, where do I place it, right? So I place this cigar being a cigar that I think, with it being a limited release, very cool fucking Vitola. I liked it a lot. I feel like it's a good $11 to $12 smoke max. Yeah. And because you're dealing with I know the tobacco can be amazing. I know it can be maybe rare tobacco that's being used. I know there's, from at least the breakdown, we don't know what type of fillers are being used. But when you look at the availability of like a Corojo 99 or even, like the San Andreas binder, those aren't necessarily rare and exclusive tobaccos that are indicative of a hike in price point on other cigars that I've seen. So the fact that they make their own cigars, it just seems steep. It just does. I'd keep it at $11 or $12 price. But it's 4 3/4. It's almost 5 inches, close to Robusto. Yeah. Big fatty. I get it, but I just feel like it's a few dollars over what it should be.
For me, I think it's far beyond that. I think it's like double what it should be. I just didn't like the cigar. I didn't like the flavors. I love the way it was constructed. I appreciate the way that it burned. The flavors are just not for me. I mean, it's like you're paying $15 for a fucking cigar. I could name so many cigars in that price range that just honestly outpace the cigar to no end. Like I probably could name 20 to 30. I just thought this cigar to me was so substandard and not definitely not indicative of usually what Foundation is going to put out. As a matter of fact, it's just so far away, and to me, from a flavor perspective, removed from what Foundation usually does. I've not really ever had one of their cigars that I didn't really love. That was just absolutely incredible. You know, some of the most highly rated cigars I think we've ever had on the podcast that we've ever broken down. And this one just missed the mark for me so badly, which really sucks because I fucking wanted to like it so much. Like I will just say it. I have been a Foundation dick rider for an extended period of time. Love the brand, love the story, love the cigars more importantly. Just not this one. Just not this one.
And it happens, man. You know?
It does. You hate to see it, but it happens.
It happens. It does. It does for sure.
So from a recommendation perspective, Chris, what did you give for this cigar?
Great construction. Amazing construction. I love the draw. Had zero issues. I really like the flavor. It's predominantly woody. It's a little overpriced. Not a little. It's kind of moderately overpriced. That said, it's teetering to getting a lesser rating from me or recommendation, but it still hit the highly recommended mark for me.
Yeah, nope. I would say just given the fact that the flavors for me were just not there, again, lacked complexity, lacked balance, fairly static in terms of that smoking experience. By the way, the cigar smoked for a long time because it's 60 ring gauge. It was just getting a lot of what I didn't like. I actually rated this probably one of the lower ratings I've given a cigar in quite some time. And I'm going to say there's better options out there.
Better options out there. Damn.
Yep. Which means we're going to have to calibrate on score and see what our average is because there is a giant disparity there.
Can we take a small recess and you text me what yours is?
Yeah.
We'll figure this out on the show for you guys right now to figure it out. So I'm going to wait here and just shoot the breeze with you while Corey sends me his score. And we'll figure out where this baby lands. We'll figure out where. I think I know where it will land. Okay, it's definitively, you heard it from us, folks. It's a decent smoke to try. It's a decent smoke to try, and I think the reason is because, at least on this show, it's kind of polarizing, you know?
It is.
It hits a mark for the diehards like myself who like predominantly spicy, very heavy cigars. But for the general population, there's going to likely be a good portion of people are going to be like, that's too much for me, you know? And an old wise man once told me, to each their own, Corey, to each their own. Do not judge as thy will be judged, right? I think that's a saying. But this is a cigar that I think it's going to be left to just, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that like it. There's going to be a lot of people that don't. Please, like anything, I know we're coming up on this next election. Don't put yourself in a tribalistic category where it's Democrats versus Republicans. Just appreciate other people's opinions when some were going to tell you that I don't like this, and you're gonna be, well, it's fucking good, man. How can you not fucking like it? No. Appreciate one's opinions. You know, take it for what it is. If you love it, that's all that matters. If you don't love it, don't try to convince someone it isn't good.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I think this is a very polarizing cigar, even between us two. Very polarizing. So I would say if you have an affinity for these types of cigars, these very bold, heavy cigars with a good amount of spice to it, you'll like it.
Yeah.
If that isn't your jam,
you ain't gonna like it.
Caution. I will say caution yourself.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, and it's, I didn't give too much, but the people who messaged me are like, "Oh my God, how is this cigar?" I was like, "Well, it's gonna be on the show, so I'm not gonna tell you, so you can find out there. But I'll just say it's not what I expected." So I didn't say they're really good or bad. There's a few people that I did, but for the most part, I was just like, very non-committal in terms of giving too much information. But
yeah, it happens.
Yeah, there it is. Cool company, cool Vitola, terrible price point, not a great cigar. You can't win them all.
Decent smoke to try.
Yeah, decent smoke to try overall based on averages. Let's wrap this up, shall we?
Sure.
Both of us have shit to do, so I will put it this way. You can visit our show sponsor, www.mycigarpack. That's obviously mycigarpack.com. They have a new referral program out, an affiliate program. I think it's called an affiliate program, not a referral program. That is actually, because a few people actually messaged me last week and they're saying, "Hey, your promo code doesn't work anymore." And I forgot Alex told me that they're doing just the affiliate program now. There's no promo code, so we have to re-record an advertisement. So the affiliate program is live. They're also doing the factory direct cigars as well. So there's a Halloween themed one for this month. So you can check that out, www.mycigarpack.com. You can check out reviews, news, and more on our website, which is www.hotticketweekly.com.
Yeah.
And check out our YouTube page, where you'll see some really latent and choppy video.
At least for this episode, at least in the beginning.
Yeah, I know. I need to get that figured out. I think part of it's I have this USB hub that's in between, so maybe try to make better streamlined direct connections, or it's probably part of the utility too, since it's in beta version. We'll see.
And if you want to annoy Corey about it, let me give you a little bit of a carrot on a stick. We're doing some cool shit coming up in December, so I encourage you to annoy Corey from now until the month of December. Like, what are you guys doing? What's going on? What are you guys doing? What are you doing? What is it? Something cool? Can I get it? What is it? Then I encourage you to annoy him until he blocks you.
Yeah, no, I'll just ignore. Dude, as many messages as I get in a day, I can't. There's somewhere it's I can't fucking answer all of you. Yeah,
and please make sure to review and rate our show. Maybe leave a nice little comment about how our show changed your lives.
Yeah.
I feel like we've saved a lot of lives. Don't you feel like a kind of a humanitarian?
I think there's more. I think it's balanced. I think a lot of lives have been lost. But I also think a lot have been saved as a result of this show. I think it's probably pretty even.
I feel like we've touched some people. I feel like we're humanitarians now. Where, we're like the Pope. But there's two popes. You're like the German Pope, and I'm the Polish one.
Oh, I don't know what that means, but I sound more aggressive.
Well, it's just to show the disparity between two cultures, mainly 1940 something, where you persecuted me, and
I don't think the popes did, but yeah, as a country.
But now we're friends,
Right.
Now we're buddies.
Yeah, still think there's some bad blood there. Who knows though? Who really knows? All right, let's wrap it up. This will conclude episode 171. We'll be back at you next week with episode 172. See you, everyone.
Bye.